All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? We are back for episode 72. We're crossing the streams. Can you believe it? 72 episodes.
My
71.
goodness.
We haven't done this. This could, what if Ron could hit the space bar and end it all in moments?
The new function I learned, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, he's a dangerous, dangerous man. We're excited to be here. We want to kick things off first with our special guest, Tim. We're a full Michigan crew today, by the way. So, Tim, take us through the first opening of the theme song. Let's get the theme song going.
I forgot about this. Here we go. Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
Ron.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff runs Sal and Bob, and there's Howard and Tim, and they call it Crossing Streams.
I'm going to do it. And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we crossed the streams.
Here we go.
We crossed the
streams.
We crossed the
streams.
That's the way. We have been 72 episodes, and yet we still refuse to invest in a proper singer of the theme song. It's just I feel like we'd let the fans down. We'd let the fans down if suddenly we had a proper singer. Lee is in the house. Thank you,
Lee.
Yeah, something's wrong with your mic, Ron. Do a little talk. Talk, Ron. Tell us what you did this weekend.
Jeez, I was in Florida this past weekend, so
all right, it isn't you. We're not interested. That was on all roofs.
Oh,
no, I'm kidding.
I pet an alligator. Does that count?
We have all the lippets. Please, at some point, review Chad on TBS. All right, Richard. Well, maybe you can just come on the show, Richard, and you can review Chad. Is that the one? Is that the one with the woman from SNL that plays a 14-year-old boy? Is that what Chad is?
We'll have to find out.
It is.
We'll wait and see.
That seems like a question for.
It is. It's yeah. I've seen a preview for that one. It's Nasim Pedrad plays Chad Armani.
Yeah.
I loved her on Saturday Night Live. I don't like when middle-aged women take jobs away from 14-year-old boys. Yeah.
My brother has told me that this is side-splittingly funny. Look at that side, as if I was on cue.
Oh yeah,
side-splittingly funny.
It came in just as it's almost like you were born.
It's uncanny. It's like you guys related or something.
It's so
check it out.
So fun.
Rick,
all right, well,
Rick, you can come on and review it.
Yeah, you come on, and I'll check it out. I want to see it every time I see the preview. I want to see it real quick. Let's just a little shout out to Ukraine. Put them in your thoughts. Fighting the good fight. I think they're gonna destroy Russia. That's my goal.
I don't know about
that. If Elon doesn't destroy Twitter first.
I was going to say, you should put one up for Twitter, too. They're going to go bye-bye now. So.
You don't even know. It's going to be months, and who knows if it'll even
Look, this is how Skynet gets started, okay?
As long as Truth Social is around, we'll be okay.
Exactly. As long as Matt Gaetz has a place to go. All right, so real quick, the drinking games for crossing the streams, they're simple. If anyone drinks, usually Sal or Bob's not here today, but if Sal's gonna drink for both of them, they drink, you drink. If we have a technical issue, drink. If we have to be asked what platform the show that we're reviewing is on, drink. If we put your name on the screen, drink. Richard, drink, please. And then if we forget an actor's name or anything, just drink. So
Jeff, can I bring up a topic before we head into reviews?
Yeah, what's up?
So last week you guys may have seen that CNN Plus died, right? And
I heard that. Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I didn't even know there was a CNN Plus.
It just came out.
I'd never heard of it before, and now I'm coming to find out that basically all of the networks have like a plus. And I'm just curious
Really?
amongst the panel, how many of you folks beyond like Netflix and Hulu and the standard streaming platforms are you paying for any of
Never,
these other?
never.
I think
Who's
the
paying
only
for these
thing
things?
we pay for is Paramount Plus because, and this is a because, when my daughter was at college, she was obsessed with Survivor, and that's how she could get Survivor, and we still have it. So now I'm enjoying Picard because it
Oh
does
yeah.
have some Paramount has a lot of actually good content. I have resisted Peacock, which I guess would be NBC Plus. But yeah, I think we have enough to watch. I can't even imagine.
Well,
more.
I kind of know the reason the news, like CNN, Fox, and all that. I kind of know. I heard a story of why they did it. Because what happens is, like, if you guys watch like an hour of CNN, they'll interview like 5 different people during that hour, and the interview's only, let's say, 6-7 minutes long. Well, they interview that person for 20 minutes. So what you get on CNN Plus is the full interview, and that's how they.
So that's like
how they
their
sold it.
Patreon. It's like their
Correct.
Patreon. It's like you can see more.
Mm-hmm.
I got it. I got
But
it.
but if I didn't watch CNN to begin with, what?
Well, they all have it. Fox has one. I
Yep.
mean, it's
Yeah, I don't watch that either. So to me, that's pointless because I hardly watch the news. I find it depressing. So
It is.
I'd rather go
It
watch
is
something
very.
else. So.
Well,
Hey,
Tim,
Greg Cohen.
tell us about your podcast and where people can find you. Our guest, Tim.
All right.
Legal.
Howdy. I'm Tim from Pop Culture Addicts, also funny science fiction, but I'm repping Pop Culture Addicts tonight. But Pop Culture Addicts is a weekly interview-based show where we talk to people around the pop culture world, all the way from Carol Baskin to our recent interview with a guy named John Stoddard, who is a actor and musician, and just had an awesome interview with him. Who's done like 3 years of The Young and the Restless, and we talk about being on a daytime dramas and all that stuff. How crazy that world is. But anyway, yeah, it's a weekly interview show, and we try to find the funny in everything that we do. And we're pretty much nerds, so that's the way it runs.
Very cool. Check
Very
that
cool.
out. Wait here, Doug puts on Doug Cohen. Doug, you should come on the show and you can talk about Homecoming. I've just Jerry was just telling me about Outer Range. That's with Josh Brolin. Yeah, and then Survivor. I haven't watched Survivor since season 3, Doug. So I was just so I did interview Keith Famey, who was on Survivor season 2. That was a fun interview. So I interviewed him, and part of it was like I asked my daughter to ask questions because she's a Survivor nut, and then I talked about my daughter Sophie on the podcast with Keith, and he sent her autograph and all that kind of stuff. And this is I asked her the other day, "Hey, did you listen to the interview?" Dad, when am I gonna have time to listen to the interview? Still hasn't listened to
she
it.
sounds
I'm
like?
like, are you freaking kidding me? No, that's what I hear in my head. The anywho. Anyway, all right, let's get to questions and streams. We talk about shows you should be binge watching. We answer the universal question: what should I be watching, or what should I watch next? Last week, episode 71, which is on our Crossing the Streams Plus YouTube channel, where you can see the full episode streaming now. Tournament of Champions. We talked about what was that? Scandal? And
Anatomy of a Scandal.
Anatomy of a Scandal. Lennox, The Untold Story, and White Hot, the Abercrombie and Fitch. Which my wife tried to watch and she couldn't really get through it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna, she might have been in a mood. So, and then today we got a great one. So we got Meat Eater, a movie that just came out, The Mystery of Marilyn Monroe, the unheard tapes. Sal's gonna break that case open for us. And then we got Dark, and then I'm gonna discuss probably one of the greatest movies of all time, Sharknado.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
so I wish I had known this. I would have been better prepared.
When I saw the list of the things that were going to be talked tonight, I honestly kind of thought you put Sharknado in as like a ha ha ha,
Look at my face, Tim.
No,
Face
I
does
can see,
not joke about Sharknado.
I can
The
see the
only
dead seriousness
thing-
in your face now.
The only thing I wish I had time for was instead of putting the image of the Sharknado poster that I grabbed off the internet, I wish I had had time to scan the one that I have signed by Ian Ziering and Tara Reid that hangs on my wall.
Oh my
proudly.
gosh.
Okay. Don't mess. I can bump you right from the show. You mess with
Oh.
Sharknado. All right, I'm gonna need a minute to come down. So we're gonna go to Dark. We're gonna talk about Dark as our
Wow.
first show. What do you got? Ron,
Yeah,
tell us
yeah.
all about
So,
Dark.
so this is another Netflix algorithm. I seem to be hooked on that week after week. You know, I mentioned this to the group that I was going to be watching this program, and I believe it was Bob Phillips, who is not with us this evening. One half of the
He's
Sal and Bob
alive.
show.
He didn't die. He's just not with us.
He had mentioned, I believe it was I believe it was Bobby that mentioned that he tried and couldn't get through it. And I have to say, it's 3-season show on Netflix. Each episode 45 minutes long. First season's 10 episodes, and then 2 more seasons, each with 8 episodes. And this tells the story of a fictional town in Germany called Winden that built a nuclear reactor that had a disaster in 1986 that was kept under wraps, and nobody knew really what ended up happening that caused an explosion to happen. But what they also didn't know is that the show explains how it opens up a time-space wormhole underneath the area where the power plant was built, cave that the locals know about. And in this wormhole, depending upon where you go through this wormhole, you either advance 33 years into the future or 33 years into the past. And so the show it begins in 1986. It a third of the show is in 2019, and a third of the show is in 1953. So already it's a complicated show to follow. There's a tremendous number of flashbacks and flash forwards. And I don't know about you guys, but shows with a lot of flash forwards and flashbacks, you have to be really careful with those. Otherwise you could lose your audience. You don't know, you lose track of what's going on. Complicating this even further is the fact that they are following 4 major character arcs, which are actually family character arcs. The town is trying to solve 2 murders or 2 mysterious disappearances of children in 1986. And of course, what you find out, and this is not wrecking anything, what you find out is that they weren't murdered. They disappeared into the wormhole. And what you find out that comes through that shocks everybody, because these kids are not dead. Where are they? Or the better question yet, when are they? And that's really, it opens up just this incredible brain blasting conversation around space and time, and the idea of wormholes, which by the way is a very real thing, and the idea of black holes and white holes, and the idea of does the past and the future and the present all exist at the same time, right? And that's where you get into the whole concepts of the metaverse and all this stuff that I think we've addressed in other shows on Crossing the Streams. The show itself, though difficult to follow, especially early on, it gets its act together very quickly. And I will tell you, this show is a masterpiece. It is an absolute thought-provoking freaking roller coaster that asks all kinds of provoking questions that you don't really know the answer to. And if you can get through the first 3 or 4 episodes, I promise you, it's going to take you to a place that you're going to be thinking about for a long time afterwards. There is a season 2 and 3. I haven't watched it yet. My understanding is that they're even stronger than season 1. Again, this is a German show, so it is German subtitles. I did attempt, English subtitles in the original German. I did attempt to watch it with, dubbed. And we've already discussed this a couple times.
Can we decide that? Yeah. So it's just family, flash forward, and flashbacks.
Yes.
So it's basically This Is Us with wormholes.
It's with wormholes. Exactly right. There is There is some nudity. There is some violence. It is definitely an R-rated watch. But that being said, it's not that extreme. I mean, it's more thought-provoking. There's no gratuitous anything in this show. I'll also tell you, there's very little in the way of special effects on this show, and I say that as a compliment. This is a conceptual show. It's a cerebral kind of show. And the acting is fantastic. The casting is fantastic. The scene and setup, and the fact that they somehow have access for real to a nuclear power plant to shoot this thing is pretty amazing. And I am really, really impressed by it. So impressed that even though I watched the first season rather, for our review today, in Crossing the Streams, I am actually going to force time to watch the second and third seasons, because I legitimately am thrilled with my find, and I want to see what's going to happen. It's only 3 seasons, which is fantastic. It ends. Let me be clear about that. It's 3 seasons and it's done.
Really?
So it's a quick watch.
Okay.
The other thing I'll just mention, earlier in Crossing the Streams, I would say probably maybe 20 or 30 episodes ago, I reviewed another German period piece called Generation War, which is a World War II fantastic piece in German, again with the subtitles. One of the star characters from that show, which I absolutely loved, is one of the star characters also in Dark. Took me a couple episodes to realize that, holy crap, that's one of the Nazis from Generation War. It's amazing when you recognize people, foreign people speaking foreign languages in other types of shows. So it's pretty cool. So there's good stuff happening in Europe, you guys. I think that's we talked about it before.
It's a subtext.
Yep. And Netflix seems to Netflix produced it. Netflix owns the rights, and yet again, I think they did a great job. It's not for everybody. I think if you're one of these people that looking for humor, or you're looking for action, or you're looking for special effects, this is not for you. But if you're looking for a thought-provoking, something that's going to take you on a ride with something that I think is conceptual and pretty interesting, give this one a shot. I think you'll really appreciate it.
Okay.
All right.
I will.
Carmen says it sounds dark.
Hey, Carmen, how are you?
What's up, Carmen?
So, Ron, just to make sure I understood you, you said that it's spoken German with English subtitles, correct?
That's right.
Did you find that difficult to follow? Because I have a problem with subtitles.
I don't. In fact, we've talked about this a lot, and in other episodes, Tim, that you have been on, we talked a lot about. I think it at the time, Squid Game came up, and there had been a debate about, do you watch that in the original, or do you do the dubbing? Apparently the dubbing is decent by some standards. I found the dubbing to be absolutely unwatchable, like destroying the show.
Which
So
one? Dark or Squid Game?
This is I'm talking about Squid Game now, but I just, as a general sense, don't agree with dubbing. You don't get a sense for the characters themselves. You're not listening to their true voice. You can't hear their own inflections. It's like you're losing a giant chunk of the sense of the show when you do dubbing.
Okay.
So that's fine. It's an opinion.
I agree.
And I'm used to. I know we've talked about this, but like, we have subtitles on now for everything. And I watched the first hour of the Batman, and I gotta tell you, subtitles helps. When Batman's like,
yeah,
and you're like, oh, he lies with us. So,
yeah.
Right. Yeah, they need 4D to spray water on me to keep me awake for the Batman, but that's another story. Yeah, guys, check it out. Watch the first couple episodes. You'll get a sense for it, and I really would love to hear your opinion on it.
All right.
Yeah, that was a show I was curious about. So cool.
Very nice. Nice job.
Wait, so hold on, Tim, on that comment. You'd heard of Dark before?
It was one of the things that Netflix suggested to me.
Got it. Because I keep thinking they're serving this up to me specifically, because they know I love the
just you.
Stuff.
Just you. That's why they were losing $40 billion.
Jeff, why did we not talk about
they're
that?
Like, we got a Ron Lippert strategy.
We didn't talk
one person at a time.
We only advertised to Ron. All Ron all the time.
No, come on, guys. Ron, they're custom serve. The algorithm custom serves. You know that, right? Like
Yeah.
all kidding aside.
Well,
You know
unless
that.
it's
No, it
like
does,
a
yeah.
new thing, unless it's like a new release or something. But yeah.
But
I mean,
I've
we're
watched
all
enough.
getting Marilyn Monroe, but
Right.
I don't know that
Right,
everybody's getting dark.
Well, I've watched enough obscure sci-fi and things on there.
Tim is a
Um,
fan.
that's Kathleen. That's my wonderful co-host on Pop Culture Addicts, the little sister I never wanted but somehow
fun.
still have.
Carmen
Kathleen's
is like Ron Lippett's best friend now.
I love Carmen.
Yeah.
So,
Batman was overrated.
and I really enjoyed it, but that's a whole other topic.
All right. Well, we can. We
I know
can
we're
have
not
a
talking
whole-
about that tonight, but
Right. Well, we had a whole like half-hour debate with Tony Berardo, who loves it. He's seen it like 5 times. The my problem with the Batman is, and it's not specifically about the Batman. I think at some point when I was young, I was like, another Spider-Man movie. All right, right? Like I get excited. But I think at some point you realize, oh, you're closer to the end of your life than the beginning of your life. Do I really have time for another 3-hour Batman movie?
yes,
Is that really
Yes, I do.
how I want to spend my remaining years
yes,
and
yes,
time, which I only have so much of, watching yet another Batman movie? Yeah, I mean,
it is. I'm a
that's,
nerd. Serve it up. I'll eat it. Let's go.
well,
So-
you know, I come up with something else, I guess. It's like there are other things they could come up with. All right, let's focus on speaking of something else. Let's go with you know, I don't know what's wrong with the I'm not having a technical issue here, but it's like every time I prep everything and I triple check, and then it just things just disappear. So all right, let's do Meat Eater though. This is it looks like a show about hunting. But take it away, Tim.
All right, so it is a show about hunting, and here's the odd thing: I'm not a hunter. I've never been a hunter. I have no interest in going out and hunting. I like to take meat from my buddies when they go hunting, but I'm not the one who wants to go out and do it. Now, the cool thing for me is I stumbled across this show. I think it was at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. It was just one of those things where I'd kind of run the gamut of Netflix and I wasn't sure what else to watch. And it was, hey, Netflix suggests that you watch this because I had watched some other documentary. So I was like, sure, whatever. So I threw it on. And I think it was about halfway through the first episode that I was watching. I'm like, this is actually really good. And the thing that's different about it to me is that, number one, I'd never got the feeling that he was hunting for sport, which I'm very much against. Everything he hunts, he eats, and he does it right in the show. So it's cool. He's, he takes you out to all these different places, and they're not always like, a lot of hunting shows. They want to take you to these weird, wild, exotic places. He's taking you to like, Wisconsin, and Texas and California, and he had a couple episodes in he's gone to some really cool locations, right? And he's gone to done some hunting up in Alaska and northern Canada. He does a couple episodes in Hawaii, but he does hunting, he does fishing, big game, small game, all these different things. And so the thing that I love about it is that, again, it's never a trophy hunt. He goes and he takes care of the animal as he should in the field. He field dresses it, gets it home, takes care of everything. At the end of the episode, him and his buddies that he went out hunting with are all sitting around showing how they would make the food at their house. Then they sit around and eat a meal together. And it's very much a show about camaraderie, him and his buddies going hunting, trying out these new locations, doing these different things, hunting animals that he's always wanted to try. And, but the thing that I love about it is he tells you why he wants to hunt that animal, what he respects about that animal, and why he's doing the things he's doing. It's not just a, stand up, bang, pow, and on to the next animal. There are some episodes where he makes mistakes and he doesn't get the hunt, or nothing is done that episode because he screwed up, or, and he's very open and honest about it. And I really like that as well. Which also makes it kind of a fun show, because then to me, it's more realistic, because I don't know a hunter that, I grew up in Western Michigan, out in the woods. Right. So I live in a small country town. A lot of my best friends are hunters. I don't know a hunter who goes out to the woods every single time and gets a kill, gets a hunt completed. All right. So to me, this is very realistic. Now, the other portion about this that I really like, the host of the show, his name is Steve Rinella. He's from Twin Lake, Michigan, which is 25 minutes up the road from where I live. Okay. He went to the same high school that a lot of my buddies went to. And so I don't know him personally. I have no connection to him, nothing along those lines. But Steve Rinella, if you're ever watching this, you want to come on Pop Culture Addicts, I know a guy who'll hook you up. Love to talk to him. Actually, he just seems like a really cool guy, right? It seems like a guy that you'd like to sit down, have a beer with, and have him tell you some cool hunting stories. And honestly, I just want to have him cook for me because some of the recipes that he throws down are just really, really cool. But yeah, it's I think it's got like 10 seasons. It's on Netflix. It's very easy to find, and it's 25, 30-minute episodes. They're quick hitters, right? It's in, out, you know. There are some episodes that span 2-3 some stories that span 2-3 episodes. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun, and it's, he's a conservationist, but at the same time I never feel like he's preaching conservation at you the whole time he's out there, but you can see that he has respect for everything that he's doing.
I got a question for you, Tim. You said that they catch the animal. Let's say it's a deer for that particular episode, and then these four guys sit around the campfire or whatever, and they cook the deer how they would eat it at home. Is that what you said? So there's like 4 different recipes going on. Like how would
Sometimes, yeah. But okay, so in that instance, a lot of times what's happening is depending on the location of where they're at. If they're out in the wild, I mean, they're just cooking like backstraps over the fire, nothing fancy, right? But if it's close to their home or to his house or wherever they're staying, yeah, they'll be out there, and this guy will be cooking on the stove. That guy might be cooking on a grill. They might have a couple things going at once, and they're trying a couple different recipes. Nothing. It's not like it turns into a full-blown cooking show at the end, right? But you can see him trying different things.
So when they don't catch something, they just go to Buffalo Wild Wing for
probably, yeah. they hit Subway on the way home,
I love Buffalo Wild Wing.
That's a good place. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just a really cool show. It's one of those things where I think I've watched just about every episode of it. And now it's one of those things that I kind of watch as background noise, because it's not something I have to pay attention to because I've already seen it before, and I just enjoy the show.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
All
it's
right.
an unusual.
That was
unusual choice for crossing the streams.
I think somebody just took a drink with some technical issues.
Nothing. Your mic is being weird again.
Yeah, it cut out a little bit, but yeah,
but once we acknowledge it, it's fine. So don't worry about it.
Weird.
But to your point, Ron, that's part of the reason why I picked it is because I felt it was something different that maybe hadn't been covered here before, and maybe a different outlook or a different show than maybe had been covered. So,
no, it was very cool, very, very cool.
Awesome.
All right, so it's really weird. All right, let's go with the Mystery of Marilyn Monroe, the unheard tapes. This is breaking news.
Breaking news. Well, if you this just came out at midnight last night, so if you don't want to know about the ending, just mute me right now. She does die. I just want to let everybody know.
God, Ron.
Wait, hang on to at the end of the review. Sal's going to also spoil the end of Titanic. So hang in.
By the way, this came out at midnight last night, and I wanted to just see how it happened. So I turned Netflix on at 11:58 p.m. And at midnight, it just appeared like one of those Star Trek people, when they just appeared from Star Trek. That's how this appeared. Amazing. You guys should try it. No, but it did. It just came out last night. I watched it early this morning. All right, so here's the deal. Here's how I sat down and watched this, because obviously we all know about Marilyn Monroe's life. We know about all her husbands and all that stuff, but we don't know the deep down things that this guy I'm about to tell you about found out. So what I said I was going to do was go into it and think, because I think she was murdered. That's what I thought before I started watching this. So I wanted to see if that changed at the end of this, and I'll tell you in a minute. But basically, there's a gentleman named Anthony Summers who wrote a book called Goddess, and he wrote basically a book about Marilyn Monroe, where he interviewed over 1,000 people for this book. And what he did was he had all these unheard tapes that nobody else had, interviews from people throughout the years. And that's how he came up with this Netflix movie. I mean, his book did very, very well too. But obviously, with Netflix calling, he said, "Hey, I'll do a documentary," because he had so much footage. If you like this documentary, I think was an hour and 41 minutes long. Him pressing a cassette tape and hearing that winding thing, that was literally about 17, 20 minutes of the documentary. I mean, he just, every time he interviewed somebody, you just saw this cassette tape it was just for effect, but it's just, I thought they did it way too much. That's just my one beef about it. But anyway, it just, so what happens is, obviously she's murdered on Marilyn Monroe died on August 4th, 1962 from a drug overdose, supposedly drug overdose. And in 1982, they reopened the case. They wanted to find out exactly what happened. I don't know why they didn't do that for 20 years, but 1982 they did it. And they asked this Arthur Summers to go to LA for 2 weeks. They gave the guy like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something to find out what he could find out. Well, he ended up staying there for 3 years and gathering up all these interviews and what I just talked about. So that's kind of what the documentary is about. And what he does is when he's interviewing his first people that he's interviewing, they're just being real quiet. These are people that were around when she died, LA Times journalist, just people like that really were there, and he wasn't getting anywhere. People weren't saying much to him. So he says in the documentary, I had to go back to the beginning. And that's when he starts talking about her whole life. She was born in 1946 and I didn't know. And that's kind of what I thought was cool. I found out about Marilyn Monroe's early life, and I didn't know she was in over 10 orphanages by the time she was 11 years old. She bounced around. She had a horrible childhood, basically. And that's probably what the drugs and all that came in, and the attention. And as far as footage goes, it's unbelievable. They show just great footage of that time that she was around, and just great footage of her. Obviously, some we've seen, some we've never seen. So that part's pretty cool. And again, I mean, not to just go over what her life is, but they show her marriage to Arthur Miller, which I didn't know this. When she was, and again, this is little things that I found out watching it. When she was married to Arthur Miller, apparently our government thought he was a communist. So when she was married to Arthur Miller, they put the FBI and CIA on him because they thought he was communist. So they found out a lot about Marilyn Monroe, a lot of tapes, a lot of conversations she had with him on the phone. So that was kind of us. Again, didn't know that. She was obviously married to Joe DiMaggio.
Wait, pause for a second. So the other thing that she became Jewish too.
Oh yeah. They skipped a lot of stuff in this documentary. Obviously, there's so much stuff, but you're right, she did. And there were some other things they left out too when I was reading the Wikipedia page on Marilyn, just to see if they coincided with everything. But yeah, she did. And she was married to Joe DiMaggio. That wasn't very long. So they kind of talk about that. And then obviously the Kennedys come in, and that's when it gets really interesting, obviously. And it was just kind of cool to see all the parties that she went to. Peter Lawford from the Rat Pack, he would have all these parties on a beach. They showed his house. They showed pictures of the house and them kind of standing around drinking and partying. Some videos, a little bit of videos of that. But his house was, it's kind of weird. It's kind of funny, but it reminded me, not in a sick way like the guy I'm about to say, but it kind of reminded me of the Epstein Island in a way. It's like Peter Lawford's house was where the elite went to have prostitutes, have all kinds of crazy stuff happened at that guy's house, which I didn't know. And so anyway, that's where the Kennedys would go, and they could have obscure relationships there, and they could party, and nobody, no press was there, no nothing. So that's where obviously she meets the Kennedys, and she actually slept with both of them. I mean, she Bobby and Jack. So So you see all that, you hear about that, you hear, and this is another cool thing. So he interviewed over 1,000 people for this documentary, for his book. And so he has over some of them didn't take or whatever. So he had 650 hours of cassette tape interviews. And you hear interviews from her maid that lived with Marilyn Monroe, CIA directors and journalists, and just really, really interesting people. Some say a lot, some don't say much. But basically, it was a very interesting documentary. It went by really, really fast. It really went by fast. And then at the end, you kind of find out some stuff that I didn't know. Again, she died on August 4th, 1962. She died at 4:00 in the morning. She had gone out the night before, if I remember this correctly. She actually met with one of the Kennedys. I forgot which one. And they were basically breaking it off with her because all this stuff was coming down on the Kennedys, how she was involved with it. Stuff was leaking. And not like today where stuff leaks in a couple of days. I mean, obviously, it just took a little while back then. But I think the Kennedys were starting to feel the pressure of Marilyn Monroe. Kind of, I think she was starting to get into more drugs, and I think they were worried about her, saying some stuff that nobody went. And that's where the so-called, was she murdered? But she ended up. Overdosing. They found her at 4:30 in the morning. Well, I didn't know this. I forgot which Kennedy now it was, but one of the Kennedys and left. They were in San Francisco. They were on a plane at 3 a.m. that night. They left out of town and was like, well, why did the Kennedys leave? Did they know something? So it's kind of got that at the end. You really don't know. You have to kind of decide for yourself if you think she was just drug overdose, or do you think there was some funny play there in the bedroom that night where they found her? So a very interesting documentary. I really liked it. I think she was one of the most amazing just actresses in today's day and age, she would be a normal actress. She'd be like Amber Heard with Johnny Depp right now, but she's just the biggest sex symbol ever. They get into some of her movie contracts. They get into some of the movies that she made, who she starred with, and that stuff was pretty cool. So it's just all in all, just about her life, and it was really cool. I thought it was a great documentary. I highly recommend it if you're into her life and you want to know a little bit, getting deeper into what you know about her. I think it's a good watch.
So Sally, were they saying that both the Kennedys were sleeping with her at the same time?
Your mic is doing weird things.
They didn't come out and say that, but it's almost kind of what happened, because you would just see these shots of them together and literally in the same room with her and those two guys. And it's just, he kind of makes that point that, it just kind of a weird kind of relationship with both of them. It's strange, you see that, you kind of find out, but they don't come out, and he doesn't really come out and say that. But
Jason wants, how many
definitely
how many jars you giving it, Sal?
I'm gonna give it 4 jars. I'm not gonna give it 5 because of all the freaking cassette tapes they show you. But I mean, literally, it's amazing how many they showed you. Just that for effect, they press that cassette player and they did that at least 100 times in this thing. That's the only thing I didn't like about it. But it was very good though, and the footage is amazing. They talk. Oh, real quick, they talk about where she stands on the where her dress comes up or whatever.
On the grate,
So this was interesting. I'd like for you guys to see it, because I thought movies, you can't go on a movie set, but when they filmed that scene, there was only like 5 people on the sidewalk, but they had to keep retaking that, obviously, like what they do with movies, because the director wanted to get the perfect wind thing with her dress. So by the time they did the last take, there was literally 1,000 people standing around that sidewalk watching that scene. And I'm like thinking, if that was a real movie, you couldn't do that, right? You can't just go up. I mean, right? You can't just go up if they're filming Batman or one of these movies downtown Detroit. You can't just go up and watch the actress do her scene. So I thought that was, maybe back then they let people come up. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And when she came out and sang "Happy Birthday" to the president, John F. Kennedy, that was kind of cool. They showed the whole footage of that, the whole singing it from start to finish, and so that was kind of interesting. That was an interesting scene to watch.
The only thing I know about Marilyn Monroe is that she lived her life like a candle in the wind,
Yeah, I love that song.
never knowing who to cling to when the rain set in.
Yeah.
I would have
Yeah.
liked to know
Sounds just like it.
her, but I was just a kid. A candle burned out. I'll keep
Kids-
going.
kids love
Long before her legend did.
When did Elton John come on the show? I mean,
I know, right? I mean, goodbye, Norma Jean. Though I never knew you at all, you had the grace to hold yourself while all those around you crawled. All right, you're welcome. Okay.
Jesus.
Thank you, Lee. Oh man.
Thanks, Lee.
Okay. Shall we continue, folks?
I think we
All
should.
right. I'm excited because the next movie that we're going to discuss is possibly one of the greatest movies in the world, and I will make my case, and I will win.
Sharknado.
Sharknado. I love Sharknado. I love all the movies, but to give it its due, I'm going to very specifically just cover Sharknado today. I will, of course, talk about other things in the future. So, Sharknado, while you scoff at me, Ron Lippett, is Sharknado once a joke movie, right? It's a once joke film title. Is the most successful movie film franchise of all time. This franchise has made over $4.5 billion, beating Disney Pixar. Okay. All right. According to filmsite.org. So this movie is considered a science fiction comedy disaster film. Though it is considered a comedy, it is not till Sharknado 2 through 6 that it became more comedy. This one is played actually more realistically than the others, and is why it actually is one of the greatest movies ever, because Ian Ziering goes all in 1,000% in believing who he is and what this movie is about. And that is why Sharknado is incredible. So real quick, Sharknado, by the way, and all the Sharknado movies are available on HBO Max streaming right now. But this is a sci-fi movie. This was a made for TV sci-fi movie. The first airing of Sharknado, okay, earned 1.37 million viewers, slightly lower than a normal sci-fi movie. However, what makes Sharknado stand out in the crowd of these type of movies, and any movie in sci-fi history, of which I challenge you to name one prior or since that is not Sharknado, is that it became an absolute phenomenon on Twitter. Sharknado aired on Twitter, or aired on the Sci-Fi Channel, and was averaging 5,000 tweets per minute, people talking about Sharknado. What really gave it its oomph is that celebrities got into it. They were so into it. People like Will Wheaton, and who's the one with Woody Allen? Mia Farrow. There were so many like big names that did it, that it became a social media phenomenon. Okay. It's literally what launched it into the stratosphere. And then they replayed it. And it gained another even more viewers, 1.89, and then aired it again, and it had over 2 million viewers. So they kept airing it. Now, one point of interest is that the Ian Ziering role was originally offered to Steven Guttenberg, who we love from the Police Academy movies. He said no. He was so upset that he said no, realizing what this movie became, is that he took on the La Vanchala franchise. Exactly. So All right. So the point is, sometimes you never know what's going to happen. All right. The other lesson for Twitter and social media, Olivia Wilde and Corey Monteith. You may recognize the name Corey Monteith. He was from Glee, and sadly, also like Marilyn Monroe, passed away from a drug overdose. So take your Twitter seriously, folks, because Corey Monteith's last tweets were, "What the crap is a Sharknado?" and "Oh, it's a shark tornado." And then he died. So, to kind of keep that,
Those are terrible last words.
exactly my point. Exactly my point. So, Sharknado is a movie of sharks and in tornadoes, and it's really, you get the whole picture of the movie from it. A little more trivia is that it was the people making the movie, Tara Reid, who, I mean, if you put her up against, I think, a piece of wood, the piece of wood may be able to out act her. Yeah, but Ian Ziering is incredible in this movie. John Hurd is in this movie, the legendary John Hurd. Those are the big names in Sharknado. Two, it started to pick up a lot of cameos. By the time six, every single person in the movie was a cameo. But in this original movie, it was more of the core cast. When they were filming the movie, it was called, I believe, Night Skies. And at some point, they broke it to the entire cast that they were starring in a movie called Sharknado, at which point almost the entire cast quit. But John Hurd understood, actually, of the entire cast, that this was going to be gold and that was the right decision. And eventually, the entire cast was convinced to stay on board. And it actually, like I mentioned, became one of the biggest franchises in the world. So this is written by Thunder Levin. It's directed by Anthony C. Ferrante. And it basically is just a story, your everyday story. It starts with off the coast of Mexico, the movie, where there's some smugglers, and then all of a sudden there's a tornado in the middle of the sea and they kill. Why they start with smugglers and some of this intrigue has nothing to do with the movie. It's just the
They had
intro.
it coming.
Just the intro of the movie. Anyway, but a cyclone's coming to LA. And as the cyclone's coming to LA, it's picking up sharks. And these sharks are becoming part of this cyclone or tornado, or dare I say, Sharknado. And and so what basically Finn, who is Ian Ziering, his name is Finn, which coincidentally, he's a hero obsessed fighter of sharks, and his name just happens to be Finn. And then which is great. And then you have Cassie Serbo is Nova, and she plays a big part in the franchise. And then they got to save April, which is the estranged ex-wife, who's Tara Reid. And somehow when they go to her house, only her house really fills up with water and sharks, but they battle the sharks and they kill the sharks. And there's so many people that die from sharks. That's the beauty of Sharknado, is that so many people die from sharks. It's just wonderful. It's not like they hold back. Maybe one or two people die. John Hurd dies. It's just amazing. And then there's a million like Jaws quotes that they rewrote, and then they kind of say like, "Oh, we're gonna need a bigger chopper," when they're in a chopper, and so like stuff like that. But it's the beauty of this film, as I send it into your earwaves, is that it's played 100% as if this is like the most real thing ever, and no one in the movie winks like a Mel Brooks film where they know they're in a silly movie. They're in a real movie, and this is the worst thing that's going to happen to the world, and they have to save the world. And that's the beauty of it. Eventually, there's a bunch of tornadoes, and they drop bombs into the tornadoes, which to dissipate the Sharknado, which you may recognize because later Donald Trump actually thought that was an actual thing you could do, is drop bombs into tornadoes to get rid of them. Anyway, and then it ends with this amazing thing. So April gets eaten, not April, Nova, the girlfriend or interest, gets eaten by a shark, and then the shark eats Finn, who's Ian Ziering, and then with his chainsaw, right chunk, and then and cuts himself out and saves Nova. And she's completely safe. Nothing happened to her. She fell from the sky in a shark, and somehow Ian Ziering went through the shark with a full-on chainsaw, and yet no one gets hurt. And that's the beauty of Sharknado. That's really just the beauty of it. And you walk away, it's only like 90 minutes, and you're like, that was just beautiful. That was like the best comedy, science fiction, disaster film I've ever seen ever.
Now, how many
And
Sharknado
I'm gonna do a little spoiler. The Carmen, the chainsaw went, "Arr," and there was a request. Anyway, yeah, Gilbert Gottfried's in one, Jason Taylor, and the time travel one is Sharknado 6, the end. It's about time.
Okay.
Very clever names.
Wow.
And so I'll get into other movies in the future because I really love this. And Robbie Rist is in it. He plays and he dies in it as well. He plays a bus driver. Robbie Rist is anyone? Cousin Oliver from the Brady Bunch. And so and so anyway, yeah, it's one of those things that was shot in 18 days, and you can see every minute of those 18 days in the movie. It's just really wonderful. They spent about $1 million to make this, and it's just, if you haven't seen it, I shed a tear for you, and I look forward to you actually going and seeing it. I really do, because you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. I rewatched it recently. I rewatched the entire series. So,
well, I just will say, hopefully my microphone's working, that my daughter, my eldest daughter Maureen, and I, this has been a bonding movie for my family and me. I have spent hours and hours, and I think we've watched the first 3 Sharknadoes at least 15 times, and we sit and just laugh nonstop. And I think our favorite thing about the show, Jeff, is the random deaths, like the creativity that have gone into like people that have nothing to do with where the show is going and what the storyline is, getting taken out by a shark in ever more random, ridiculous ways. Like a guy in a boardroom and having a shark go through the window and eat him, just like ridiculous things like that are freaking hysterical. And it's been great.
These yes, HBO Max, Carmen. These sharks have aim that is so impeccable that if they were stormtroopers, the whole Star Wars franchise would have ended in one movie. Like that they're as good at targeting people as stormtroopers are at missing people. It's like no one is safe from one of these sharks. Not one shark is ever. It's not like you see a scene in Sharknado where they're walking and there's like a bunch of sharks just on the ground. No, each one killed someone. There isn't a wasted shark in this movie.
So I have never watched a second
Me neither.
of any of the Sharknado movies. But here's a question, and maybe you already addressed this, and maybe I missed it in your explanation.
Sorry, I thought in your introduction you hosted a funny science fiction podcast, but go ahead.
I do, but I skipped this on purpose. But anyway, no. So honest question. So the sharks are in a tornado. Sharks are in aquatic.
What don't you understand about Sharknado, Tim?
I'm getting there.
What isn't clear about Sharknado?
This is me building you a clock to tell you the time. So sharks are an aquatic creature that are now in a tornado. How do they stay alive outside of the water?
Well, hang on.
Good question, Tim.
I know.
It's Sharknado technology, man.
Well,
So
it's like, first of all, that can happen. I mean, you're just, what are you saying? Like, well, you've taken
in the water,
a fish out of water,
tornado,
and it just dies.
It's like a water spout.
water.
It sucks up water in the tornado. So there is ocean water in the tornado, Tim.
Okay,
Right.
there's my answer.
It's
Okay,
not like,
Like a funnel.
Like a funnel. Exactly.
okay. So this clearly isn't being shot in Lake Kansas, then.
Well, this one isn't, but number
Yeah,
four
it's in
is.
Lake.
Number four is actually shot in
Lake of the
Kansas.
Ozarks.
The fourth movie is in Kansas and it actually has more Wizard of Oz references than you can shake a stick at. Let me tell you, when you those of you who are, and it sounded like while you built the clock to tell me the time, Tim, is that you are trying to imply that the Sharknadoes aren't real. But in essence, there are 5 documented instances of real life animal tornadoes, including a gatornado. So there's been a fish one where the fish nado, where fish had been sucked up into a water spout of small fish and began to rain from the sky. There was a reported frog nado, where it rained frogs. Jellyfish,
Was that
which
a
is
toad NATO?
no, I think a frog. I mean, can someone mute Tim, who doesn't know the difference between frogs and toads? The jellyfish, a worm, and an alligator nado. And so, those are all documented. You can Google them later. I don't have time. We have to end the show, but I come prepared. I don't just say I like Sharknado and walk in.
No, you got.
I don't walk in ready for you to build clocks to tell me the time and catch me off guard. I'm trying to Ian Ziering my review. I'm trying to take it as serious as.
No, you're playing it straight, just like the people in the movie. You're right there.
So, all right. So anyway, awesome. All right, that was good. Let's see what. Yes, Gilbert Gottfried was, I believe, in 4. He'd be like, "Oh, now there's oil.
I'm
it's
about
an
to
oil
get
NATO.
eaten.
Oh, the cow is in. It's getting excited. It's a cow NATO." That was his whole role in the movie. I believe it was either 3 or 4. So, okay, very cool, very cool. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Lee, for being here. Jason, everyone.
Nice.
Oh, I do want to say real quick, because I forgot to mention it in the beginning, is if you go to Jeff Dwoskin Show on Instagram, and then I keep begging people and re-promoting this, but if you just do that little hashtag as a comment, Jerry's giving away an original art piece. So I hope everyone takes advantage of that.
Wow.
And
That Darth Maul is awesome.
Yeah, and it doesn't. He'll do an original one too. These are just like examples. So that's pretty cool. So take advantage of that. But in the meantime, thank you all for joining us. Tim, say good night.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Ron, say good night.
Good night, boys and girls. Have a fantastic week.
Sal, say good night.
Good night, everybody. Sal and Bob Show podcast.
And I am Jeff Dwoskin live from Detroit, but soon having a new name to my podcast, which I'll announce shortly. And Ron's waving with his little hands. And we'll see you all later. And that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow the Jeff Dwoskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff Dwoskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us. Listen to our podcasts, live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show, the Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.